Hello. So I want to talk about abuse in the church. And I made a video about this a while ago. I kind of privated it because it had a detail in it that I didn't want to talk about. So I'll go back and fix that. But I really want to talk about this because I've been a Christian my entire life. And in the pandemic, not the first year, I would say 2021, I lost faith because something happened, like really bad happened to me again. And I think I was just tired. I was like, I've always done everything right. Like, I've always followed Christ, and I've never let things like deter me from that. And it felt like no matter how good of a Christian I was being abused. Like, it didn't matter. Like, bad things kept happening to me. And then I just reflected on my life and realized, like, a lot of the people who hurt me were quote unquote Christians. And I think what really just made me angry is that the church protected my abusers. Like, they protected them. And I know that's not every church now, and I know that, but mine's did, okay? And it hurts so bad because it's like, this person is doing something to me. And yet, like, I don't know, it just felt like these people are preaching things they don't believe in. And that really hurt. And I know that's not every church, but when you're young and that's happening to you, it really can just change, like, your view on, like, Christianity as a whole. Like, I've always had certain issues with the Bible, but I always kept my faith in God. Even till this day, like, even when I was, like, doubting, like, I would say I lost my faith, I still believe in a higher power. But I just didn't believe in, like, Christianity for a while because it's like, how could you protect these people who hurt us? And we all know about the Catholic Church. I've been baptized in the Catholic Church when I was a baby, young, and when I was baptized in a Baptist church. So it's like, I kind of have like a in between, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I'm sorry, this is kind of like, I'm gonna edit this up, but it just really bothered me. And then I decided to look up other people who have been, harmed within the church. And I came across this video that was from yesterday, and it just really resonated with me, so I'm going to play the video and then I'm going to come back.
One of DFW's largest churches is responding to allegations that he molested a 12-year-old in the 1980s. Robert Morris, who preaches at Gateway Church in Southlake, admits he engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior, but the pastor says he was transparent, sought forgiveness and counseling before returning to the pulpit. Tonight, Matt Houston spoke to the accuser for the very first time.
Cindy Clemishire read from Genesis Sunday.
As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today.
That's the 54-year-old's prayer, that her story would bring about some good. She accuses Gateway Church pastor Robert Morris of molesting her from 1982 to 1987. The first time, she says, she was 12. Morris, a family friend, was in his early 20s, already married, already preaching.
The story is gut-wrenching when I read it on paper, and I've been sharing for years. So it just happens to be God's time, I think, for it to come to light.
In a statement, Morris admits to inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady, though he did not reference her age. It was kissing and petting, he said, and not intercourse, but it was wrong. In 1987, Clemishire says she told a family friend who told her to tell her parents.
He didn't come forward and confess. He was turned in. And when someone's turned in, what are they sorry for? Are they sorry because they got caught, or are they truly repentant of what they did?
That's why she takes issue with Gateway Church elders who say Morris followed proper biblical steps and a lengthy restoration process. She says her family forgave Morris, but never gave him their blessing to preach again. Morris claims they did.
I think that leaders can get caught up in feeling like it's our responsibility to protect God, and it's not. Their responsibility is to protect the people.
Gateway Church elders say since the resolution of this 35-year-old matter, there have been no other moral failures. Pastor Robert has walked in purity and has placed accountability measures and people in his life. The matter's been properly disclosed to church leadership.
That's Old Testament verse. Let me show you New Testament verse.
Morris did not preach Saturday. He'd already announced plans to turn over church leadership to his son next spring, though he said he would continue preaching some. In Tarrant County, I'm Matt Houston.
And Morris has not been charged with the crime today. He said the sin was dealt with correctly by confession and repentance.
And this resonates with me so much because, like, growing up, I remember two instances that stick out in my head, and these were two different churches. One out in the country, back home, right, back in South Carolina, where a girl who was way, way older than me tried to, like, get me to make out for her. And I told, because I was grossed out, and I would have been grossed out no matter the gender. So it's nothing like that. But it's just like, one, you're way older than me. She was probably like 15. And I was like little, like maybe like 3 or 4. But I remember this very vividly. And she tried to like force me to talk to her and like do things with her and this other girl. And I told. And her dad was like, oh, I have to see this. He was a pervert, which is probably why she thought that was okay, right? Not to say that that's an excuse, but I'm just saying that's probably why she did it. So I remember another, he was like a youth pastor, I believe, came in the bathroom, because we were in the bathroom. Mind you, this was really weird. And he's like, oh, I knew you were like that. I didn't told you about that talking to the dad. And, like, that's not going to be accepted here, right? So I'm like, so are you going to call the cops or, like, do something? And, like, he was like, we're just going to give it to God. We're going to pray about it, and we're going to give it to God. So that was, like, my first interaction with, like, the church will just try to pray things away. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't pray for people, but why are we acting like that prayer is going to stop them from doing these things? Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. There are certain things that, like, you still have to put the law, like, it's sometimes it feels like in the church, the law doesn't matter, right? Like, the law doesn't matter. We just give everything to God. And that's something I can't get behind. Like, no, there needs to be, like, we have the law for a reason. It needs to be upheld. Oh my God. It gives me a headache even thinking about it, because in that moment, I just felt so disgusting. I just wanted to leave. And I remember that girl being like, I was like, ew, like, I don't want to do that. And her being, you don't have a choice. And it's just like, what is wrong with people? Like, I can't even, my brain's never going to understand it. But it just kills me that, like, two adults, one adult was a perv, okay? So that's why that happened. Clearly, like, she thinks this is normal. She was just trying to do to me what had been done to her, it felt like, right? But for another person to know it's wrong and then to just say, we're just going to pray about it. You're not going to call the cops. Everyone in the church knew. They've been talking about it. They knew he was weird. But yet no one decided to call the authorities. All those people, and no one did anything about it. Mind-boggling to me. I just don't understand it. Fast forward. Someone who I lived with was an abuser. They were also like this. I don't know what I can and can't see on YouTube. That's why I kind of stumble over certain words. And the church knew. This was a different church. This was in Baltimore. It's like on the line. Like, I lived right on the line of Baltimore and, like, Anne Arundel. And there was, like, they knew this person was like that. Again, everyone knows it, but everyone just wants to turn a blind eye and just pray it away. I can't get behind that. Like, and I was a devout Christian my entire life. That I'm not blaming God for how these people acted at all. But what I will say is that it's hard for people to want to go in churches when they go into church and that people are just telling them to pray for their abusers while they're actively being abused. That makes no logical sense to me. How everybody can sit, and then you know what? There's another aspect of it, and I'm just going to be the one to say it, that these people want in on abusing these people who are vulnerable. I'm going to be the one to say it, because they'll laugh it off. Like, body language tells a lot about someone's character. And when you're sitting there like, oh, I see what this person's doing, but you know, you just pray about it. And you're supposed to be a preacher, you're supposed to be a pastor, and we're supposed to respect you and look up to you and think that, like, you don't even practice what you preach. And it's just like, that's how so many people hate the church. The Catholic Church, we already know what they're known for, but this happens in Christian churches too. It doesn't matter if it's Pentecostal, it doesn't matter if it's Baptist, it doesn't matter if it's non-denominational. It happens in all of them. Not every single one, but it happens in like churches of all kind. And it's just like, it blows my mind how we sit here and we allow these people to keep harming the congregation, the public, and just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna pray it away. And I've seen this in recent cases. I forgot which singer it was, but when Cassie got that video of Cassie getting viciously attacked came out, and that woman was like, I'm still gonna pray for him, and it's up to God to judge, something like that. It was more than one person who came out who said it, but it's okay to pray for somebody, but to also know they belong in jail. Like, it's so hard. I realized a lot of my issues it was not with God. It was with the church, like with the people, with Christians. Like, for how long are we gonna keep praying things away? And I guess a part of me was angry or whatever at God. And I know they'd be like, you know, God, he gives people free will, right? But at the same time, it feels like all the good people get punished while the bad people get to run amok and do whatever they want. And it just makes it really hard, if you get what I'm saying. Like, there's so many bad people who they get away with it. There's pastors priests, there is people in the Catholic Church who have harmed thousands of people, ruined their lives. Those people are now addicts. And they're just like, the people who did it, the pastors, the priests, whatever, they're living their lives. They're happy. They're making millions of dollars. They're living in luxury while these people are on the streets. Like, and sometimes these people look at me like, how are you sane after everything? Because we went through the same thing, and they feel like I'm sane. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm sane. Like, I'm not like, maybe I'm not as bad off as they are in their eyes because I'm not, doing drugs or whatever. Again, I don't know if I could say this on YouTube or not. I don't care. I'm just going to talk. YouTube takes down my videos sometimes. It is what it is. But maybe I'm not as bad off as they are. But I still deal with the trauma from what happened to me and what the church allowed and what the church laughed off or prayed off. And it's like, there's great people in the church, but there's a lot of bad people. And I know, of course, the church is going to attract bad people, but I'm just tired of the fakeness with the church. Like, I think that's what it is. So many people leave the church because we're tired of people pretending. Like, we're tired of, like, you know how many times, like, older people in the church will, like, prey upon younger ones, right? Let's use when I was, like, a teen, and they would make disgusting remarks, right? And then other church members would blame us because that's the flesh, and we must have been doing something to make that person react that way. I think that's right there. It just made me just like, oh my goodness. Like, I couldn't stand people. Like, I just couldn't stand them. Like, I just was like, I can't be in the church dealing with this. Like, I just can't do it. Like, it's just like, how are we acting like this is normal? And I just feel like a lot of people use Christianity as a cop-out. They use the Bible as a cop-out for their evil desires. And when you're going around, like, everyone knows, like, Revival Week, right? And it's like, you're going around to different churches, and I've been to amazing churches who aren't like this. So I'm not saying it's all churches, right? But when you go to, like, say, like, not everyone has a car. Like, when you're younger, you don't have a car. And you're stuck dealing with, like, bad churches, it will really make you just, like, never want to go back. Never want to go back, because it's like, I don't even know if I'm making sense, but it was just like, this is insane. This is what you deal with when you get around church people. Like, I had someone grope me on the bus, on a church van, and I was like, don't touch me. And this woman was like, oh, don't be mean to him. Why are you touching my the side of my behind? Why are you touching that? What? Don't touch me. And I was just like so livid that all these people were acting like it was normal. It's just like, oh my goodness. And then they will use that, you need to be Christ-like. Does he not need to be Christ-like? Does this woman who is being inappropriate not need to be Christ-like? So it just all falls on us, right? Like, it's like so many people prey on Christians. It's like, this can go to a bigger conversation of how I was preyed on so heavily when I lived in that neighborhood for being a Christian, and people felt like I couldn't react because they would literally say like, oh, well, you can't get mad because you're a Christian. And it's just like, it's insane to me. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like I'm kind of over the place, but I just feel like there's something to be said about, like, I don't know, I need to hear more. I've been hearing pastors preach about it. Like, I love Joyce Myers, and I think I gravitated to her because of her story about what her father did to her. And, you know, I was SA'd from people in my family, but it was actually a female in my family who I was SA'd by, and that is why I gravitated to her. And I forgot his name, him and his wife. It's a few people that I love to death. Like, I love gospel music, but there's like there's two females. There's Joyce Myers and there's another lady, I cannot remember her name right now, but she's amazing. And I'm gonna post her, because I'm gonna find her, I'm gonna post her. And then it's like two other guys who I just love their preaching. But I don't know. Sometimes I sit there and I'm just like, man, this is exactly why people are leaving the church. This is why people don't want to be in the church. Like, I know there's good churches out there, but there's so many bad pastors and bad preachers, man. It'll make you never want to step foot in a church again. It's like ew. It's just gross when you think about the things that these people allow to happen just so they can have people in the church. As long as you're putting money into that, you know what I mean? Like, that's all they care about. Donate that 10%, you know, give your tithes, and they're fine with it. It's just sickening to me. Especially if that person's a big contributor. They will not say anything to that person. Like, I understand they'd be like, oh, we all sin, but there are certain things that is too far. It's too far. Like, it's like, okay, this is a limit that, you know what's crazy? I've dealt with so much, like, in the church alone that just will have you sitting there like, this is supposed to be a place where people are supposed to come for family and community and stuff like that. That's why I just stuck to doing a lot, you know, online. And people will be like, well, you're not in church for people, you're in church for Christ. But it's like, okay, yeah, you are in church for Christ, but you at least want to have some people that you can, like, church is supposed to be a family. And then I think about if I ever choose to have children, which I don't know that I will. And then I heard a pastor say, how can you raise a child without the church? It's hard enough to raise it on like your own. And that's true. Like, if it wasn't for the church, I probably wouldn't be here today. I'm being so honest. I probably would not be here today. That is where I got most of my meals, most of my clothes when I wasn't with my father, was in the church. I appreciate the church for everything they've done for me, but I will not pretend like there's not a lot of abuse that happens within the church that goes, and I know I'm not the only one. Like, I know I'm not I remember, oh my goodness, what's her name? I can't remember her name. She's a singer, and I really like her, and she's from Baltimore, I think. And she was talking about how, like, she was, like me, SA'd in the church, and they just prayed it off. And it's just like, you could be a devout Christian, but you cannot pretend like these things aren't happening. Like, everything can't be prayed off. It just can't. Like, we have to, like, I don't know. Like, there has to be boundaries. And, like, I was just, like, I miss being in the church. But I can't go back to the one I left because it's, like, I can't be there without seeing what happened to me. Like, I can't. It's, like, how can you be somewhere and just, I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to end this here, though. Let me know what you think. Because, like, of course, like, a lot of Christians, like, people are wondering why people are leaving the church or people are losing their faith. And it's like, of course, I love God. You know what I mean? That's been my entire life. But it is harmful. You know what I mean? Like, what these people are doing. But I'm going to end this here. Let me know what you think.